Well, so we will be doing calorimetry today. Now this is just a part of heat and thermodynamics, and obviously this deals with the measurement of heat. Calorimetry is the part of physics that deals with the measurement of heat energy. Heat energy measure করার যেটা সেটাকে calorimetry বলা হয়। ঠিক আছে? যে part of physics that deals with the measurement of heat energy is called calorimetry. Now the question is, last day we have studied that heat is a form of energy in transit. मतलब जब एक body से दूसरा body में transfer हो रहा है, in only during that part we call it heat energy. But when it goes inside a body, it brings about the increase in its internal energy. Alright? And that is measured by temperature. So temperature decides which direction will the heat energy flow. Right? Which direction will the heat energy flow? वो कौन decide करता है? Temperature decide करता है. Now the question is the temperature, will the temperature also decide कि एक बॉडी के अंदर कितना एनर्जी है, कितना इंटरनल एनर्जी है, और how much amount of heat energy will it be able to give?
Sir, I will wait.
Will the temperature decide how much amount of heat energy will it be able to give?
No.
Give out or take in? No. So there are two more quantities that it decides that. One is the type of material, what type of material is it, and another is the mass of the body. More the mass, more is the amount of energy inside it, and more amount of energy it can give or receive. Alright? So, for any particular object of mass n, say we have a block of mass n, and we are supplying q amount of heat to it. Okay? For that, say the temperature of this body
T1 to T2 is
changes by delta T. Okay? Then the amount Q is directly proportional to the mass of the body and directly proportional to the change in temperature. ऐसा क्यों हमेशा ऐसा क्यों लिख दिया मैंने? मेरा मन क्या है इसके?
नहीं सर, किसी ने लिखा होगा तो
नहीं, किसी ने लिखा जाएगा। बहुत सिंपल सा चीज है, तुम भी मुझे बता सकते हो। मुझे एक चीज बताओ, अगर तुमको पानी उबालना है, if you want to boil water, अगर तुम एक छोटा कटोरी में पानी लोगे और एक बड़ा जार में पानी लोगे, कौन सा को उबालने में ज्यादा टाइम लगेगा?
ज्यादा टाइम तो उसमें लगेगा सर।
ज्यादा टाइम छोटे वाले में लगेगा।
बड़े वाले शायद
हाँ, ज्यादा टाइम लगेगा बड़े वाले में, राइट? हाँ, बिल्कुल। क्यों बड़े वाले में ज्यादा टाइम क्यों लगेगा? ज्यादा मास है, राइट? The ज्यादा amount of water, more amount of water. So that is why the amount of heat required is directly proportional to the mass of water. अब मुझे बताओ कि अगर हम लोगों को 10 डिग्री सेल्सियस में वाटर है, मान लो विंटर है और 10 डिग्री सेल्सियस में वाटर है, हम लोगों को उसे 20 डिग्री सेल्सियस में चढ़ाना है, तो ज्यादा हीट चाहिए होगा या 50 डिग्री सेल्सियस तक चढ़ाने के लिए ज्यादा हीट चाहिए होगा? तो of course the change in temperature is directly proportional to the amount of heat energy to be supplied or absorbed. समझना है? Now when you remove this proportionality sign, you always bring a constant of proportionality. That constant of proportionality is denoted by S or C. Specific name. This C is called the
specific heat capacity.
Heat capacity. It's called the specific capacity. ठीक है? The specific capacity material dependent. शुद्ध material, जे material के ऊपर भाग है, ये material के ऊपर depend होगा।
It has to specific heat.
ना, specific C का specific capacity. Q का तो total amount of heat energy, which is bringing about the change in temperature delta. That is C can be written as Q by M delta T. ठीक है? Where Q is what? Q is the amount of heat energy supplied. Amount of heat energy supplied. Okay? M is the
Mass
of the block. M is the mass of the block, and delta T is the
change in temperature.
Change in temperature.
Sir, actually this is
Delta T is a change in temperature.
Sir, C does not depend on mass.
C does not. No, obviously it does not depend.
It does not depend. It is, but
it is independent of mass.
Substance.
C specific capacity is a material property. Is a
Material property.
Material property.
Intensive.
molar heat capacity mass এর উপর ডিপেন্ড করে না, it is independent of mass. Specific heat capacity জিনিসটা independent of mass, সেটা molar heat capacity হোক বা normal specific heat capacity হোক। molar specific capacity বা normal specific capacity দুটোই independent of mass। ঠিক আছে, it is just a material property, does not depend on anything else, it depends on the type of
স্যার যেটা মোলার কি প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্ট?
হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা
type of material।
স্যার এটা ইন্টেন্সিভ তাহলে
এটা intensive obviously per unit mass, per unit mass intensive। So C is equal to Q by M into delta T. C just the specific capacity. Is that clear? There is one more thing called thermal capacity. What is thermal capacity? Acha, how do you define specific capacity? Specific capacity কি করে define করব? Write this down. Specific capacity is the amount of heat energy required by unit mass of a substance for unit change in temperature.
required by unit mass of
Mass of a substance for unit change in temperature. ठीक है? For water, specific capacity is water C is equal to 1 calorie per gram per degree Celsius. Okay, for water, and in SI system it is 4.2 joule per 4.2 into 10 to the power 3 joule per kg per Kelvin.
per Kelvin
per Kelvin, SI system में तो Kelvin ना, এটা হচ্ছে CGS system है, CGS system, और এটা হচ্ছে SI system, ठीक है? To be more precise, when they define the specific capacity of water, they say that the temperature range should be from 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius. From 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius.
স্যার এটার মধ্যে কি হয়?
The reason is we consider the specific capacity to be constant, but in real the specific capacity is not constant. At different temperature ranges, the value of specific capacity changes. Specific capacity does not remain constant all through. So that is why when you are mentioning the specific capacity, it is better to mention the temperature range. In general, you can consider the specific capacity to be constant, okay? But it actually changes over a different temperature range. Not huge difference, slight difference. Is that clear? The first and most important concept is specific capacity is independent of mass. এখানে দেখে মনে হচ্ছে specific capacity is Q by M delta T, but you know C is the constant of proportionality. So any constant of proportionality is obviously independent of the remaining terms. এটা তোমরা সবাই জানো, তাই তো? So C is independent of mass. All right? Now there is another definition, that is thermal capacity. What is thermal capacity? Thermal capacity is the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of a body by 1 degree. To change the temperature of the for unit changing temperature. Well, so thermal capacity is what? Thermal capacity is the amount of, write this down, amount of heat energy required for unit rise in temperature. Amount of heat energy required for unit rise in temperature. But see, we are not mentioning the mass. Cannot
mass
depend করে
body এটা depend করে এটাই হচ্ছে problem
because if you take a smaller body, just answer me a question. I'm saying what is thermal capacity कि कोई भी body का 1 डिग्री टेम्परेचर चेंज करने के लिए कितना हीट एनर्जी सप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. So if it is a small body, do we need to supply more heat, or if it is a big body, we need to supply more heat? Big body as simple as that. तो mass के ऊपर वो डिपेंड कर रहा है. Is that clear? So thermal capacity is actually given by m into c, मतलब mass into specific heat capacity, ठीक है? So it is
sir,
thermal capacity is equal to mass into specific capacity. हाँ बोलो।
স্যার আমাদের এখানে স্পেসিফিক হিট ক্যাপাসিটিতে অলরেডি ডেফিনেশনে অলরেডি মেনশন করা আছে বাই ইউনিট মাস, মানে যতটা বড়ই মাস নিতে গেলে তার ইউনিট মাসের জন্য অতটা হিট দিতে হবে। সো ইট ইজ সো ফর দিস টাইপ মাস ইজ কনস্ট্যান্ট, সো উই ক্যান টেল ইট
Mass
ইজ
is independent of,
ঠিক আছে,
independent of,
ঠিক আছে,
right?
এবার বুঝতে
So
পেরেছি।
কি বললাম স্যার, specific capacity, when we are defining specific capacity, we were saying that for per unit mass, means for unit mass how much amount of heat energy is required. So it does not matter whether it is a small object or a big object. We have to take only unit mass के लिए कितना amount of heat energy. Is that clear? So it does not depend on mass, but thermal capacity does depend on the mass. Is that clear?
Yes sir.
Clear to all of you? There is one more definition you need to know regarding this, and that definition is water equivalent. What is water equivalent? Water equivalent. Water equivalent. What is meant by water equivalent? Water equivalent is the money. Literally, it means equivalent of water.
মানে
Let's understand. Say I take this object, and when I supply, say 10 joules of heat energy, its temperature changes by 5 degrees Celsius. Okay? Now, water equivalent of this object means if I don't take this object, instead I take water, then how much water? Listen to me very carefully. क्या है? How much water means the mass of water needed, which will have the same change in temperature for the same amount of heat energy supply. Means कितना mass of water हम लोग को लेना चाहिए, so that if we supply 10 joule of heat to that mass, it will also have how much change in temperature? 5 degree change in temperature. That is called the water equivalent of this. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि हम लोग ये चीज नहीं लेके अगर उतना mass of water लेते हैं, it will respond similarly to the heat energy. যতটা heat energy supply করছি, it will respond similarly. মানে its temperature change will be same. হ্যাঁ, মানে আমি টেম্পারেচারটা যতটা চেঞ্জ করব, obviously সেই অনুযায়ী আমাকে কনসিডার করতে হবে যে মাসটা কতটা নিচ্ছি, বাট দ্যাট মাস will be dependent on this object. ঠিক আছে, so write this down. Water equivalent is the mass of water 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 that will have the same change in temperature, that will have the same change in temperature as that of the given object, as that of the given object, as that of the given object for the same amount of heat energy supply, for the same amount of heat energy supply.
it is significance কি?
Also significance for the same amount of heat energy supply. ठीक है? Now see what is the significance. In many of the sums, they say that we have a copper vessel. ठीक है? We have a copper vessel which contains water, and the mass of water is given to be say 50 grams. 50 gram. Okay? And say they're saying we are supplying this much amount of heat energy. Find out the change in temperature if the water equivalent of the vessel is 5 gram. Now what does that mean? इसका मतलब ये है कि you don't have to separately consider this vessel. Separately consider the heat energy absorbed by the vessel. Instead, just take the mass as 50 plus 5, 55 of water, and then make the calculation. So, actually, when you supply the heat energy, that heat energy is absorbed by this container, copper vessel, as well as water, right? So, copper vessel का 5 gram water equivalent दिया हुआ है, and mass of water 50 gram दिया हुआ है. So, when you are making the calculation, तुमको तो copper vessel का भी लेना पड़ेगा और water का भी लेना पड़ेगा ना. तो क्या होगा, कॉपर वेसल का स्पेसिफिक कैपेसिटी पता करना पड़ेगा, फिर उसके लिए भी mc डेल्टा t वाला फार्मूला लगाना पड़ेगा। तो उससे बेहतर क्या है, अगर हम लोग वाटर इक्विवेलेंट बता देते हैं तो हम लोग सोचेंगे एज इफ कोई वेसल है ही नहीं, उसकी जगह में टोटल कितना वाटर दिया हुआ है, दैट्स इट। हां 5 ग्राम वाटर इज इक्विवेलेंट टू दिस कॉपर वेसल
না 5 গ্রাম কপার বেসিক কোস্ট
না একেবারে নয়, সেটাই হচ্ছে কথা। কি লিখলাম ডেফিনেশনে কি আছে, ইট ইজ দ্য
mass of water আচ্ছা
it is the mass of water, means 5 gram of water is equivalent to this vessel, copper vessel.
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে বুঝতে পেরেছি
Clear? Yes or no? Done? Okay. Now you know what is water equivalent, you know the thermal capacity. Acha, in CGS system, the numerically water equivalent is equal to thermal capacity. I tell you why. See, what is water equivalent? When I'm saying water equivalent, what am I saying? I'm saying कि ये मेरा vessel है, copper vessel है, से इसका specific capacity is C1, ठीक है? से C specific capacity is C, और इसका mass जो है वो mc है, copper का mass, alright? And say it is equivalent to some amount of water, then that mass of water is m, say mw, the mass of water is mw, and in CGS system the specific capacity of water is 1, so the amount of heat energy absorbed by both of them should be same. Now ये heat energy कितना absorb करेगा, Q equal to mc into c into delta t, और ये heat energy कितना absorb करेगा, Q is equal to mw into 1 into delta t. The change in temperature is same in both the cases, हाँ या ना? अब हम लोग इस दोनों को इक्वेट करेंगे तो क्या मिलेगा, mc into c into delta t is equal to mw into 1 into delta t. So delta t cancels, this is 1, then mass of water is equal to m into c होता है ना. If I just take the mass of copper as m, then it is coming out to be, देखो m into c isn't it same as that of the thermal capacity?
Sorry, water can
Water is specific capacity of water. Specific heat of water. So you can say in CGS units, water equivalent and thermal capacity have same numerical value. Same numerical value. But remember their units are different. Unit of thermal capacity is unit क्या है? It is, what is the unit of thermal capacity? Calorie per gram. Sorry.
per gram ना
Calorie per degree Celsius. Thermal capacity का unit is calorie per degree Celsius. What is the unit of water equivalent? Because it denotes the mass of water. समझा? This denotes the mass of water and this denotes the amount of heat energy per unit change in temperature. ये vessel है, copper vessel, and this is water.